How's it going? We're on a bank holiday here in the UK. Probably, maybe it's elsewhere as well. I don't know. I don't really know what the deal is with bank holidays. It's like the system saying you can have a day off. Like, I'll take what days I want, mate. Thanks. So yeah, I always feel a bit out of sorts. Like, you know, I'm not sort of employed at the moment, although that might change a little bit in October, but yeah, it's always a bit like I don't know, like, is it the weekend still, I guess. And the reason I mention that is I don't know, I like to kind of do music. I don't know, sometimes I'm kind of in this middle phase at the moment where sometimes I like to do music, or traditionally I'd say, if there's such a thing as tradition in my world, that I've done music sort of like in the evenings or weekends, right? And then when you start doing like 9 till 5s or whatever kind of bullshit that you kind of have to do to survive, then it's kind of like when you have time off, or you're kind of in between work or whatever it might be. It's like, am I kind of working now? Because, you know, I'm not at work, and music should be, it's work, right? So and you get into this real weird headspace of like, well, it's not really much money from this work, and yeah, the whole dialogue and everything kind of gets in the way. So anyway, I digress. Bank holiday, weird headspace, and I figured I wasn't actually going to do a video today. I thought, like, I might just use the weekend and the extra day just to relax, to recover. We've been traveling a lot recently. I think I'm still really struggling with energy at the moment, and the last thing I kind of felt like doing was jumping on and being I don't know, being optimistic or positive on a video. And not that I would, you do feel that pull, right? Just like it's like I don't know, it's like a friend's coming round or a relative. You're like, oh Christ, maybe I have to like put the Hoover around, maybe look presentable like to the outside world. And I figured, fuck that, I'm just going to jump on a video and try to be myself. And then I'm going to go play PlayStation because that's what I feel like doing. This sketch that is kind of like sounds like that guy whose music I mentioned in the other video, whose name I keep forgetting. Someone put it in comments. It will come to me in a minute, but there's a few artists actually who do it. It's kind of like raspy kind of modulated thing, and I was kind of curious a bit more about that because I mentioned it in a previous video, and wanted to sort of, as I often do, dig in a bit deeper into understanding like what is it about that sound and kind of what does it sound like when I kind of, I don't know, if I kind of emulate it or if I kind of go through those sort of channels a little bit. And it's always going to be different, but to try to understand it, for me at least, you've kind of got to kind of own it, like you've kind of got to create with it. And I've had this sort of similar feeling when doing cover versions, which is just saying those words makes me sort of cringe a little bit. But in the electronic music space, like doing a cover version of Autechre or doing a cover version of LFO or Guy Called Gerald's Voodoo Ray, it's really weird. It's sort of, on the one hand, it reminds me of like the little small seaside town I grew up in, and seeing bands doing like cover versions of Status Quo or something like that, and not really obviously being into that. And then on the other hand, it's almost like kind of like remixes, right? And it's sort of that kind of world. So it's a real weird sort of mishmash, depending on your generation and what kind of baggage you've probably clung to or has been clung to you over the years. I kind of want to challenge that, and doing this sort of sketch or this kind of exploration is sort of a way of doing that. This artist's name, god damn it, I forget what the bloody person was called. But yeah, kind of like listening to their music, and while I was popping to the post office to post some records, and kind of thinking like, how does this, what is it that makes this artist sound this way? And trying to imagine, like, this is kind of what they do, like every time they go into their studio. And do they struggle to not sound that way, or is it just naturally that's like what they sound like, and they struggle to try to sound that way? Maybe they kind of write weird, I don't know, they could be writing any sort of stuff outside of what they present to the public. And what's their kind of process? And I kind of find that really fascinating. From myself, like I kind of pull from lots of different music and lots of different artists, and it's kind of like, I guess, a combination of sort of an amalgamation of all that sort of music that you draw from, and your own sort of like, I wouldn't say take on it, but your own kind of those kind of qualities that you develop, not necessarily intentionally, but like some intentionally, some not, those kind of habits that you create, like as you do this longer, kind of mixed together, and that ends up sounding like you. So so I'm curious about that. And also just it pushes you into different places. So like when I've done some Autechre covers and the LFO track, and you're like, man, like to try to get it to sound even similar, and the kind of spaces you have to go into creatively, the kind of the techniques that you have to do that you may have not done before or not done in that way, and also those moments where you feel like, man, I really want to go here with this, and I can't because I'm kind of doing a cover version. I want to kind of get the accuracy of it, and allowing yourself both to kind of explore beyond the kind of limits of the cover version, and also to keep yourself sort of contained within it, is a real, I don't know, it's a real interesting creative process. I really enjoy it, and it kind of, like I say, it puts you in different places. So this is sort of this is sort of like this sketch is sort of really simple. It's basically using the bass drum plastic or BD plastic engine, and kind of like a sort of sloppy sub bass, and then some kind of more thumping kick drum stuff. Originally it was a bit more 4/4. It kind of does sound a bit, not like I've got anything against 4/4, but I find that quite, at this point anyway, quite difficult to just stay in that rigid pattern. I always have to kind of create a bit of movement. This kind of has a little bit of movement, and that sort of slightly dubby, offbeat kind of feel becomes, it can quickly become kind of abstract, and then the kind of rhythmical sort of repetition element of it gets a bit broken, so it sometimes can be quite a balance. But some interesting stuff come out of it, because I was really struggling to find like a balance between the raw sound and the effects, and then I started automating, or I call it automating because I come from Audio Mulch and Cubase and whatnot, Logic and stuff, donkey's years ago, and still, I guess this uses tricks, right, and slides between the stuff, but it's basically a bit of dust on this, it's very dusty in here. So let me show you what I'm on about. So there's kind of there's this main sound, which is the bass drum plastic, right? And then there's kind of originally this was kind of like many steps, like 16 steps, and then I kind of started using the trick mutes, which I find really, really useful just to quickly adjust the pattern to see like where is the track. It's like I've always thought of it, it's just like I want to have 16 steps of content or 16 steps of sound, like ingredients or energy or substance, something that I can then carve away and explore. I think intentionally putting stuff down, I don't tend to do as much. Maybe in bass, like I want a bass sound to just hang here, but then at that point you're kind of amplifying what's already there. But at the beginning, it's just whacking loads of stuff in and then seeing what surprises me. And out of those 16 steps, we ended up in like 4, and then like a 6 cycle loop, right? I can't remember what I kind of put on here, so I'm going to go through. I think there's some basic automation or different tricks on each one, but nothing too crazy. And the main thing was just like this. Oops, we made a mistake. So if anyone knows how to go back in time, but I don't know how to do that, so I'm just going to reload it. That's a shortcut I need to work out. That one, I can load the kit. Let me do that. I think you have to load a different kit and then load the kit back up again or some shit. Something weird like that, isn't it? And we can load the project back up. Yeah, so there's this shortcut, right, where you can kind of save and then just undo. I don't know what it is. I always forget. There we go. Yeah, you're probably screaming, well, it's just that button. It's just that button. Yeah, I forget what it is. Anyway, so yeah, six steps. But then the thing that was interesting was with the velocity modulation, you can kind of change those sounds within the engine or wherever you want, and just having that kind of control in there has been quite cool. You can kind of go from these kind of different textures and stuff, and then bring up the volume change on that filter is kind of crazy as well. So that was kind of interesting. And then the effects, I basically had like a different 16 steps. And just lots of there was a few that were like particular triggers that would be moving. As you can see, there's loads more stuff here that would be creating almost like cycles of that original sound in different areas. So there's some of the bass comes from this, some of the stereo panning stuff comes from this. This is kind of some of the width changes are there. I think there was like one that goes to the right, and then there was some kind of movement. I think this first one goes to the right, yeah, and then to the left extreme. So lots of kind of stuff that's happening, and you can kind of hear that. This applies obviously to everything. So another sound I'm going to go into in a minute, the kick drum, which is on track 3, uses a bit of that effect, but has to kind of I've had to automate the sends of it. So you can hear I'll kind of turn this up so you can hear it. So this is the dry originally. So you get those two different senses of time where just based on where the loop's interpreted, on the amount of steps and whatnot. And the other sound is this kick drum one, which without the effects is kind of like a really high passed sort of sound. So we've got like a band pass on there, and I think there's some slight different, interesting. I'm pretty sure I modulated that. Maybe I didn't. Maybe I modulated this. That's curious because you can hear it, right? There's definitely something going on. Oh, maybe it's that's strange. There should be some filter settings there, and I'm not seeing any. That is weird. Right, you can hear it. Where is it? That's so weird. So I got some overdrives in there. Oh, it isn't weird. I remember. Yeah, I don't remember stuff very well. I don't know. When you're creating stuff, and I'm really in the menus. I'm really in the sound, and then afterwards, like my brain just switches off. It's sort of very much. Yeah, it's a complicated space, though, isn't it, when you're creating, and then to kind of like think about it and dissect it afterwards, it's just very, very different. At least I find that, and I think that comes across when you see like YouTube tutorials and things. It's a very like sort of a lecturing, teaching sort of like, I don't know, presentation of menus kind of approach, which is, useful. And then when you speak to someone who makes music, like sometimes they've got a job to even put a sentence together, right? They're like, they express themselves through music. And I think I'm sort of maybe in the middle of it, and I forget stuff. Anyway, so this is where I put this is where the kind of changes. So it's basically triggering this waveform on the LFO and then using the frequency. It's assigned to the frequency. So you can change the extremities of this. So if I check this as on 40, so you can hear that you can go even more. So it goes higher or lower. It's this kind of thing. Yeah, and originally this was like, I forget how many steps this was originally, but it was actually more a 4/4 kind of thing. And also, it's what is it, 6 bars, right? So 24 24 steps. Man, I haven't got my decaf coffee. That's my excuse. The postmans don't work bank holiday either. What's going on? Yeah, so 24 steps, and then it's kind of that cycle again is different even to the effects. So when we put the effects on, there's occasional emphasis just on the start and a bit of delay on one of them. I think it's this one, probably on the send somewhere. Kind of feels like it's on that one. Oh, maybe it's the delay so long. Oh no, that's right. I did have a delay on that, and then I programmed it in. Yeah, so the actual delay fill is, it's actually programmed in. So I started using like some off times just to kind of create a bit more of this sort of swingy, this one's on, this one's off, a bit more of a swingy feel, so you've got a different sense of the cycle again. And then when put it all together, you've got this kind of polyrhythmic kind of deal, but yeah, on their own they sound quite cool, I think. And obviously the kick is now very 4/4, which is, I'm not so into, but with other sounds it kind of becomes like the lesser thing. So yeah, that's kind of what we got going on. Pretty simple stuff. I'm kind of like, yeah, I kind of find the 4/4 thing a bit weird. I kind of want to create like, I don't know, like remove steps. I think I've got, if I remember right, some quite different volumes. I believe I did, or maybe I didn't. Yeah, I thought I did, or maybe I didn't. Just to kind of create some movement, but evidently not. I know I was playing around with different filters and stuff to kind of create some movement, but I think I might have got rid of those as well. Yeah, I did. Yeah, I don't know. Sort of interesting thinking, listening back and checking stuff from yesterday, and kind of where it's at. Kind of sounds cool. Doesn't sound like me at all, obviously, or maybe it kind of does to some degree, because it's like, obviously it will do, but I feel like I'm sort of like occupying someone else's, I don't know, I've put their clothes on or something, or yeah, kind of feel a bit sort of like I want to extract like the thing that I'm yet to hear, you know. So, but it's interesting to kind of go through the process. I think the effects thing has been particularly interesting. Just I've probably less on the presentation now of it, but certainly when I was creating it, like you know, kind of moving the panning and stuff and just trying to create different cycles, and then knowing like if I can maybe create a bit more sort of an anxious repetition sort of feel, which I tend to go for, as opposed to like a more subdued kind of Berlin-esque groovy, you know, empty club kind of vibe. Like it's not really the space I'm particularly used to. I like I don't know, curled up in a fetal position, dribbling in the corner of an empty room is kind of where I'm at. Yeah, Christ, it's one of those days. I'm gonna need to turn the PlayStation on. Anyway, yeah, not much else to say really. Kind of wanted to do a video, kind of wanted to get this out of the way, share this track and see where we're at, and listen back to it today. Have a little check-in with myself and see how things, see where you are. I know, like, wherever you are, if you've got the day off today, like in that feeling, like if you're watching this, you're probably having that all familiar dance between like, should I make some music or should I watch some videos of other people doing it? We've all been there, and I think they're both good, right? They're both really valuable, and it's sort of that, yeah. If you keep putting stuff off, wanting to create, feel that urge to create, but like continue to think about what your perfect setup might be or something. I don't know what might be going through your mind. Yeah, it's just so satisfying when you just go through the motions of actually doing the thing, and dealing with it. It's a very, very different experience, and it can be educational in the moment. You're like, you know, you hear what you've made and you're like, okay, this is how I feel about it, and yet the sounds exist in isolation of my thoughts. So kind of an interesting world. I guess that's why I love making music so much. It's just forever learning, forever open. You know, there's different doors that are opening. Yeah, just it's incredible. So I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to go. I was going to say I'm going to make a coffee, but there isn't any. Maybe I need another caffeinated one. That's probably a good idea. And I will see you in the next one. Nice one. Cheers.